Welcome to the Champions of Active Women podcast. In each episode, we share stories and experiences of active female role models and individuals who support the active pursuits of girls and women. Our goal is to encourage and inspire girls and women to be active for a lifetime, to reach their goals, and to break new barriers in sport and life. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative in the Sports Medicine Research Institute at the University of Kentucky. The mission of the Active Women's Health Initiative is to optimize health and promote physical activity and wellness for girls and women across the lifespan. If you enjoy this podcast, you can make a donation to the Active Women's Health Initiative at uky.networkforgood.com. Your contribution helps us empower all girls and women to find their inner athlete and become athletes for life. Ann Smith, who is now retired, was the Senior Vice President for Hospital Services at UC Health, where she was responsible for leading the integration and strategy of the inpatient care across all three UC Health sites. Prior to UC Health, Ann served UK Healthcare in a variety of roles. Having more than 4 decades of experience in healthcare operations, she is dedicated to fostering an environment that builds camaraderie and teamwork across the continuum of care, with respect and humanity between the patients and caregivers as a critical component. Ann earned an undergraduate degree in medical technology and a Master of Public Administration from the University of Kentucky. She currently holds positions on the advisory board for the UK College of Health Sciences CLM program, as well as on the board of the Active Women's Health Initiative. Ann was inducted into the UK College of Health Science Hall of Fame in April of 2017. Ann has been an avid runner for the last 20 years, 1 full marathon, 9 years on the Bourbon Chase team, and too many half marathons, 10 milers, 10Ks, and others to count. She continues to train and enjoy the activity and the experiences associated with the sport. So welcome, Ann. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm really excited to visit with you.
I'm excited to hear about all parts of your story, but I wanted to get started with your journey with running over the past 20 years. Could you take us through that journey?
Yes, I'd love to. I was always interested in running and just seeing what it would feel like to be out there. But women of my generation were not always encouraged, I'll say me in particular, to sort of be forthright with the activity that we wanted to do. So I was a little intimidated and self-conscious. But my elder daughter was doing a soccer camp at UK, and it was in the Nutter Center. And I would go and walk because it was 3 days a week. It was just long enough that by the time I got home, I'd have to be back. Plus, we were worried about injury for her and not having a parent there to help with that. So I would walk the track endlessly. It's a great track. It's a little boring. Ran into a colleague who said, "You really ought to you ought to run this. Goodness, you're out here all the time. You might as well give it a shot." At that time, I ran to the store. I ran to the refrigerator. I ran to work, but I didn't actually put on shoes and run. So I started just sort of doing laps around the facility, which is really a nice facility. And it became, so we went through the fall and got into the winter, and it was Martin Luther King Day, and the camp was canceled. It was closed for the holiday. My daughter said to me, if I don't do something on this day, I'll lose my conditioning. I don't want to lose this condition. She's 13. And I said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And she said, "Let's go for a run." And I said, "Where?" She said, "We can go outside." And I said, "Outside? Where people can see me?" And she was like, "Mom, please." Eye roll. I'm going to be there. Nobody's going to be looking at you. Oh, okay. Got that. I'm good. Wow.
Relieve that concern for you, right?
Yeah, that concern for me. But that level of self-confidence is like, let them look.
Yeah.
And I thought, if at 13, she is that comfortable with who she is, I don't want to screw up this whole role model thing of a mother. So why don't I just go with her? And that was the first day I ran outside. We ran a mile. We ran from mailbox to mailbox. until we got tired, or I got tired, and then we would walk, and then we would run again. And I've been running ever since.
Oh my
And
gosh, what a great story.
that was 2000.
So, obviously it sounds like your daughter was a role model in that. Were there other people who were encouraging you to take up running and or helped you along that journey?
Not so much running, other than my colleague who said to me, and would actually run with me when we were at the camp. We would run together. She
Mhm.
was very, very, she was very, very patient. But friends that I've had over the years who have been runners. My minister at one point in time was, who is still a friend, is a runner. We would run together on occasion. I remember him telling me a story of running with a church member who's blind, and he was running the eyes for that church member. And I thought, wow, how amazing would it be to be able to do something like that? I haven't yet. It's one of those things that's on my list to do, to see how I can
Mhm.
help people who want to run have that experience.
Yeah.
So basically, I think my husband was supportive. He never has said to me, "Oh, please, really? You're going to do what?" He's always been right there and very supportive. And understand, I run on vacation. I used when I traveled for work. I ran when I traveled for work. He's gotten more than one phone call that said, "Okay, I fell. I think you need to come and get me."
Mhm.
Um, and when I was living in Cincinnati and he was here, I continued to run, and he continued to be supportive. So I think um, having it be, my running has now become just sort of a matter of life. Just what I do,
Mhm.
wherever we are, whatever we're doing. It's just one of the things that we do, just as natural as going to breakfast. I've
Yeah.
usually been for a run.
So before you took this journey of running, which really started as an adult, what kinds of experiences did you have with physical activity or sport, if any?
Well, very little in performance of my own.
Mhm.
So when I was in elementary school, the president's physical fitness test came out. I'll never forget this. We dreaded it every year. We used to
Yeah.
run around the playground and do all those sorts of things that were just miserable. Never did it. Rode my bike everywhere when I was a kid. I rode my bike when I was in college. Rode my bike as a young adult. Not long distances, but just for fun, just to get from place to place and to do things. In fact, um, my wedding gift for my husband was bicycle,
Yeah.
and we took them with us and rode around in Charleston, South Carolina on our honeymoon. So we had that kind of activity. I walked, loved walking,
Mhm.
um, but never anything that would push me or could be considered not appropriate um, for a girl. Because in the time that I grew up, there were no women sports teams. You could run track or you could be a cheerleader.
Mhm.
If you were in the right part of the country, you probably could play field hockey or something. But I had no opportunity for sports. Um, I'm, yes, I like to run and I consider myself a runner, but I was never good enough to be on anybody's track team. And I
Mhm.
was never self confident enough to be told I couldn't be on a track team. I think the closest thing that we came to cheerleading back in the day wasn't all that athletic. And then there was the drill corps and that sort of thing in high school, but not really anything other than just very casual activities. So when I graduated and started working, I did take exercise class, and that was sort of fun. So I did the whole Jane Fonda workout business,
Yeah.
and aerobics and stuff. But I always wanted to give running a try and just didn't have the confidence to do it.
Mhm. So what motivates you to be active now?
I think all kinds of things do. The first and foremost thing is that it's fun. I like it. I like to run. I like the way I feel when I run. I didn't, I, back when I was trying to adjust and develop some time, and now that I am in recovery from an injury, I focus on the experience of running rather than my distance or my time. Just what does it feel like? And what is my brain doing? How am I releasing um, the stress and things that are troubling me? I always called it asphalt therapy. I think the mental aspects of running, where I can just, within reason, get lost in the run and thinking and working out. There's a hill I go up that I used to call my problem hill, not because it was a problem to run up it, which of course hills are always a challenge, but it was a nice long hill. And usually if I had a problem at the start of it, by the time I got to the top, I had 2 or 3 ideas in my head about how I could approach it, whether that was an issue at home or at work or, with in some other aspect of my life. So I will tell you that the physical benefits of running are a side effect. It's the mental release and health
Mhm.
that comes from that being outside, being active and exercising those, not to be redundant, use the word, the muscles and releasing all whatever gets released, um, really helps my mental health. And I think that, and besides, I'm having fun.
Yeah. I love that first and foremost is just fun. And I think that is probably speaks to why you've been maintaining your routines for so long, because you enjoy the process.
Yeah. Oh, I really do.
Awesome. So, you mentioned an injury there that you experienced recently, and could you talk about how that might be impacting your physical activity, or what that recovery process is like for you?
Sure. Sure. I was walking with my husband and a friend. Actually, it was the day before Thanksgiving, and I was walking. Now we weren't strolling; we were clipping along at, about a little under a 16-minute mile. So that's a pretty
Mhm.
clippy walk. But it was November. There were wet leaves on the road. I was transitioning from the sidewalk to the street, lost my footing on the leaves and landed on the curb, shoulder first, chin second.
Oh.
So cracked my shoulder. I say broken shoulder, but it was really it was really just cracked in a couple of places. But it hurt and whacked my chin, which I was a whole lot more concerned about. So long story short, it's a fairly common injury, I think, in women of a certain age. But this wasn't just a fall; it was a fall on a very sharp curb, and so I said to the doctor, "Can I run?" He said, "Well, you can, but you're not going to want to." And so I didn't. He was right. I'm always very concerned about injuring it more. I did manage to continue walking. They put me in.
Mhm.
I didn't have to have surgery, thankfully. I had what they
Okay.
call a cuff and collar, which is a sling, for lack of
Yeah.
fabulous thing in the beginning, miserable thing by the time I lost it. But so we did keep walking, although very slowly, as you can imagine. I was a little tentative,
Mhm.
and my balance was off. So I was cleared to come back to running with no restrictions in middle-ish January, but my balance was way off. Um, my arm didn't swing. I had to remind it that it had work to do when I was
Yeah.
moving. So took it slowly. I was anxious to get back, but also not interested in re-injury. Then we had all that snow in February, so that sort of stymied me.
Mhm.
Then I started up in March and had, all the things that I went through trying to get um, my initial running going. I sort of had it. Now I have had injuries over the years, usually because of a fall, because I'm a little klutzy, and sidewalks are not my friend. I hang
Mhm.
a toe on them on occasion, but I I I took the mental. I remembered sort of the Taoist approach, if you will, to running, to enjoying the experience and the way I felt and the strength I could recognize I'm gaining to come back into running. When I fell, I was running. Um, my average run length was between 6 and 8 miles,
Mhm.
about 4 times a week. I would go out for a little short burst of 4 or 5 miles, but that was my real solace, was getting out and doing. My favorite distance is 10, but
Okay.
6 to 8 is a real nice run for me. I'm back to 6,
Good for
and
you. That's a pretty short timeline to get back there after?
Well, they're not pretty, and they're not. Running is one of the. But when you watch people run, like the elegant runners in the Olympics and and the Boston Marathon run, that is what human bodies were sort of built to do. They're beautiful. I am not necessarily in that category. I refer to myself as a geriatric turtle running through peanut butter, but that's not why I run. I don't run because I'm the prettiest or the fastest or the most coordinated. Clearly, I run because it's fun, and I run because it's my brain. And having that back, so the worry that maybe at this stage I can't do it anymore. Maybe this is where it ends was real. But now I'm feeling very confident. I'm back again at all concessions made. I fully expect to get my average pace back to about where I anticipated it should be, and my rhythm is back, and my flow and my balance, and so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Did you notice changes in your mental health throughout that process as well? Because you noted that running is there's such a mental release there for you. So I'm wondering if you noticed that coming back as well as you get back into running.
Oh, I think the one who notices it the most are my family.
Yeah, the people who have closest interactions with you.
They're the ones who are probably, more than once, my family has said to me, I think maybe mom needs to go for a run. Yeah. So I think it's been a weird year. So it's hard to say. I feel better, but I don't know if I feel better. I'm sure without question my running is part of it. It's also nice that the world is getting back to post-COVID. We'll never be over COVID, but having human interaction again and being able to go out and do things. So yes, it's been, like I say, it's been a very odd year. I feel better. I think, but I'm also newly retired. So I had retired just before I fell. So it's sort of hard for me to put that all in perspective. But I credit running with lots of good things. So heck yeah, I feel way better, and I'm sure that that's a huge part of it. I know that the concern that I couldn't, because we're told, which has been a problem for me a lot, what I'm told. So you're told that girls don't do this. You're told that girls aren't supposed to do physical activities, that you're not the right kind of person to do that activity, or that you shouldn't like that, that you have to follow this path. So you're told that as you get older, your ability to recover is diminished. And it is. That's a fact. Age does that. But it doesn't mean that it may make it slower. May your recovery may come more slowly than it did 30 years ago or 20 years ago, but it comes. And so whatever runner I am when I'm fully recovered again and out there, I'm at my 8, 9, 6, 7 mile on a regular, that's okay, because the important thing is I'm still running.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to do what I want to do. I did. So there's a race downtown, the Bluegrass 10,000 in July. And I ran into the mother of a guy my husband went to high school with. Golly, I had been running maybe 5 or 6 years. She was 81. And I said to her, "You are my role model. So when I'm 81, I intend to be running the Bluegrass 10,000. It may take me all day. That's okay.
I'll wait for you.
Thing is the important thing, as long as I'm in front of that sweeper that picks up all the cups along the way, I'm good."
There you go. And I love that perspective that it's really the long game, right? You want to keep running, and that may shift over time and what that looks like. But the idea is that you enjoy it and you want to keep doing it. And whatever that looks like in the time for you is okay.
And there's no mourning the past. It's all part of our experience and who we are. So that we were this 20 years ago is great or fine or okay. And that we're who we are now is also okay, because that's what humans do. So yeah, so I think that the recovery is slow me down at a good time, but in the rest of the cosmic scheme of things, it hasn't been that big a deal. And yeah, I'm over that fear. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Good. So you mentioned that you're recently retired and you had a really long and successful career in healthcare. And I'm wondering if you could talk about, how your own wellness was part of your success in your career.
Uh, so I started as a med tech in on the second shift in the hematology lab at uh, UK. UK. It was back in the day. It was UK Hospital. I progressed to I was the chief administrative officer for Chandler, and then moved into the enterprise director for clinical service lines. I then left for an opportunity in Cincinnati. So that was my
Mhm.
history. Many of the problems I solved on my run were work problems. Healthcare is a fabulous profession. It is giving. People used to say to me, I wanted a career where I could use my science and math background and help people. People used to say to me, well, you should be a nurse. And that's really great. And nursing is a fabulous profession. It just wasn't
Mm,
right for me. I didn't really want to touch people.
yeah.
I just wanted to help people. So when they told me I had to draw blood, I was like a little taken aback. But that's like one little tiny part of it. So we got past that. We did okay. Um, and that it provided me some grounding. But it's a hard a hard job.
Mhm.
And when I started running, what I found, I think when I was in the lab, tasks could be marked off. So that was done and checked. 3 standard deviations at the meeting. We were sure there are instrumentation was working and our protocols were being followed and our processes were accurate, precise. When I moved into administration, um, there was no standard against which we could measure ourselves. There was no right answer.
Mhm.
My boss said to me, "Look, in as long as you're close, about 80% of the time, you're fine." Whoa, the stress associated with 99% standard, 3 standard deviations around the
Yeah.
mean. I'm good. I'm in. Well, where's the mean when you're making decisions? And
Mhm.
it's hard, and you're wrong a lot, and that's hard for somebody who's coming from a back. It's hard for anybody. It was for me. It was particularly hard with my background of being fairly confident that I was within 99% um, that range in my accuracy. So I struggled. I struggled quite a bit. When I started running, I found an outlet for that struggle. I think it's twofold, maybe more fold than that. But the first was it gave me time to think as I was picking up one foot and putting down the other one. It gave
Mhm.
me time to think and work through opportunities for moving forward, ideas, thoughts. Um, it also gave me an opportunity to fuss and fume and get all that out so
Mhm.
that I didn't share that. It also wore me out. So I slept better, which then helped me think better.
Mhm.
So as having, I hadn't been in administration for very long when I started running. I became the director of diagnostic services on December 30th, 1999. So right before Y2K, which I'm sure very few people on the planet remember how stressed we all were, but worked all night, New Year's Eve to make sure the computer system in 4 departments I knew nothing about.
Mhm.
Just sort of walking around going, well, I hope y'all got this because I don't know what to tell you. So to start running right after that and begin to help my brain think on a interdisciplinary way rather than a focused departmental way,
Mhm.
really helped me begin to learn and appreciate um, the intricacies of fitting all the healthcare pieces together to meet the needs of patients, which is the reason we're all there. And
Mhm.
it gave me an opportunity to think through things. to really work through what does it mean to provide healthcare when you're an administrator and you don't really have hands-on. Not that I really wanted hands-on. I
Mhm.
didn't even have their samples in my hand anymore. How do you mesh your internal mission statement with the job that you've been tasked to do? And
Mhm.
I don't believe that I could have done the work. We did a lot of fun and exciting, hard things. I stuck my foot in my mouth more than one time. I got through all that because I could work it out on my own. Everybody does it differently. For me, running was a real solace, a real opportunity for me to just leave it on the asphalt.
So, for you, you've run lots of races, of all the way up to a marathon. And I'm wondering if you have a favorite memory from all those journeys with running.
Oh golly, yeah, I'm a one and done marathoner. I can tell you that I don't mind running the marathon, but man, the training is the devil.
Mhm.
It's hard and long and lots of it, and requires lots of people sort of supporting you along the way. I have so many great memories. I mean, we had a Bourbon Chase team. The Bourbon Chase is a relay, 200-mile relay. It's 12 runners, six runners per van. No, that I did that for 9 years with the UK healthcare team. Our van still gets together. We quit. And I didn't do it the first year. So after 10 years, we quit. It was 9 years for me. But we still get together. I mean, those kinds of friendships and connections are just amazing. The people you meet while you're on the run are just um, it's a great community. The help
Mhm.
and the camaraderie is so fun. So yes, I have tons of stories, but I think the one that is the most meaningful to me. I was doing a run. I don't remember when it was. I remember where it was. It wasn't a very long run. And when I do races, I don't race anybody there. I race me. So I had a goal of I wanted to of a time goal I wanted to
Mhm.
beat, and had gotten up that morning a little tired, and so it was perfect venue. It's a place I love to run. It was a race with a great opportunity for me to meet my PR
Mhm.
expectation, and I was within, I guess, a mile of the finish line, and I just hit a wall. I couldn't do it. There was a hill in front of me. It was hot. It was buggy. Um, Lots of pollen in the air. I was done. And I stopped, walk up this hill as a young man ran past me and he said, "You've got this. Don't stop." So I didn't. And I ended up winning my age division and meeting my PR. That's the kind of support and just fun. It's an instant group of caring people um,
Mhm.
that I enjoy. Now, I will contrast that with one other story, and that was the first time I took my younger daughter, who actually was the athlete. Both my daughters played soccer. The younger one was ran track. She was a strong track. She did the triple jump in middle school. She was very good, very athletic. Still is. Both my kids are still active, and we run and cycle together to this day. But the very first time I took her to a run, she was early in high school, I think. We did the Thoroughbred Classic, which is at Keeneland on Thanksgiving morning, which I just love. It's brisk, it's fun, enjoy, and Keeneland's beautiful. And I hadn't been running very long, maybe 4 or 5 years. And she, of course, gone. I come across the finish line and she looks at me and she goes, "Mom, what took you so long?" Well, listen, I finished, and she goes, "I just feel so clean and good, and let's run to the car." And I said, "Okay." I'll meet you there. But it's those kind, I brought, it
Yeah.
was something for our family now, all three girls, we've done it. My husband is not a runner, which is fine. But as the women in the family, we have my elder daughter joined our Bourbon Chase team one year. She was the reason I ran the marathon. She challenged me to do it in a year that had a monumental birthday for me. And so we did it that year. We have run in all kinds of things in combination, and now my younger daughter is picking up another one of my activities that I enjoy doing, which is cycling. And so we went for a bike ride just last weekend, of greater import than I used to do, greater length, maybe not import.
Mm-hmm.
But my elder daughter and I did a lot of bike rides, and we actually rode Ragbri in 2017, and that's the great bike ride across Iowa. So it's a 7-day ride. So had done it. I had done it the year before with a friend and his in a group of his buds, and that ended up being mine. And I talked about it so much, and of course my daughter was like, "Oh, I can't believe you rode across the whole state." And then next year she did it with me. So it was it was fun, and it's again it's that experience and the fun, and you have to enjoy it. So it has to be something you like. The hardest thing about going for a run is putting on your shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get those shoes on, though, you're good to go.
Well, it sounds like you and your family have had some good times together being active. Can you imagine what it would have been like if you had not chosen the active path? Like how do you think your relationships or your family quality time might be different if you hadn't chosen that active path and really leaned into running?
I, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what it would be like to not have something. Um, I think that we would have missed out on a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
But that was fun for us. I think you have to define what your fun is. I think the most important thing is we grew as I have grown as a person, and as a woman, in taking on the opportunity to be more active and more physical. Um, I think I'm not sure I could have done some of the work and made some of the decisions that was expected of me without that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I also think my expectation is as I age, I'll have a healthier brain.
Mm-hmm.
Will I lost both an aunt and a mother to Alzheimer's. I'm hoping that running and being active, and cycling, and whatever it is that's in my future now, yoga, which I have come to just love, um, is also sort of a pushback against the negative components of brain age that we don't understand yet. But I'm pulling for activity as making it better. I have when I went to the hospital with my shoulder, um, the small things that throw me, the tech who roomed me took my um, blood pressure and everything, and she looked at me and she said, "Are you really active?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a runner." And she said, "Well, you're resting heart rate. Your heart rate is your heart rate is very low."
Mm-hmm.
So I run a very low heart rate. I feel physically healthy. I feel confident, and I credit all that to being active. For me, activity is running. Like I said, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can watch people run, and it makes me want to go run.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I called it loping because that's about what it was, about what it is again. But it really doesn't matter how fast or what what it what the the parameters are. It's whether or not it it feels beneficial. When I finished my marathon, I had people say to me, "So what was your time? What was your time?" I said, "Okay, I just ran 26.2 miles. Why does it matter how fast it was? I ran it. I
Mhm.
started it and I finished it and I ran the whole time.
Yeah.
And it rained on us a lot and I still did it." So yeah, people talk about time. That's because that's the measure of an elite athlete.
Mhm.
It's all about the time. And that sure is about the winning. And I have had time goals in the past. So I am not denigrating that goal at all. But the benefit to me of running the marathon is that I've done one. I
Mhm.
had that experience. And I know don't want to do it again, but I know that I understand why people do that.
Mhm.
And I think that that understanding and that acceptance of who I am as a person, flawed, clumsy, slow, um, it is also in a very tangible way associated with the confidence that I have as a runner
Mhm.
in my activity.
So we've talked about a lot of things today, and I have just one more question for you, and then I'll give you time to add anything else that I missed. But you've talked about running being particularly important for you in developing confidence, and especially as a woman who has been told, you know, by the world, you shouldn't do these things or these other things. What advice would you have for girls or women about being active?
I think the first and foremost thing I would say is don't be afraid of it. If there's something you want to do, try it. What you don't know is how it'll feel. And if it feels good, keep doing it. Who
Mhm.
cares? You really have to quit. We as women have to quit, have to leave behind the girls don't do that. Women don't do that. You got to look a certain way or be a certain thing or meet a certain standard. The only way you need to look and things you need to be is what makes you a whole person. So it may not be running. It may not be cycling. It may be something else. But give it a shot. And if you like it, go for it. The important thing is not the what. The important thing is the do. Being just being outside makes life better. Um, Sometimes maybe not so much when it's raining or vividly hot or icy cold, but um, I that would be my recommendation is find something that you like, explore the opportunity. There's a million opportunities for
Mhm.
things that you can do, and now um, post COVID, as gyms are opening, there's all kinds of opportunities to try out indoor and outdoor. I'm a big fan of outdoor. I use indoor to get ready to go to outdoor.
Mhm.
Um, and all kinds of opportunities that can be done. And if you need to start where it's private, then do. But but don't be afraid of it. And if it takes a buddy, find one. There are all kinds of opportunities to find a buddy that you you feel comfortable doing things and you feel comfortable not being your best when you're doing those things. And it may help you. I sometimes find myself more committed to doing things I don't particularly like if I have a buddy. Like I don't really like strength training, but I'll do it if I've made a commitment to somebody to get
Yep.
there.
Mhm.
So those would be my. I think once we get past the I can't do that and give it a try, then we just figure out how to commit to doing it on a regular
Mhm.
basis.
Anything else you'd like to share today with our audience?
Oh no, I just hope to see you out there on a run or maybe cycling or you walking or something. Just if you uh, if you have the opportunity, just find what's right and enjoy it. Have fun.
Yep. I think that's a prime message that I'm taking away from our conversation today. Just find something you enjoy, and sounds like that's a good strategy for sticking with it for a long time.
Worked for me, and I highly recommend it.
Thanks, Anne, for your time today.
Thank you, Dee.
Thank you for listening to the Champions of Active Women podcast. This podcast is brought to you by the Active Women's Health Initiative and the Sports Medicine Research Institute within the College of Health Sciences at the University of Kentucky. This episode was produced by the Faculty Media Depot. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with your social networks, or simply tell a friend about us. If you want to help us sustain the Champions of Active Women podcast, donate to the Active Women's Health Initiative at uky.networkforgood.com. For up-to-date information about our initiative, follow us on social media at UKAWHI. Thank you for joining us as we empower all girls and women to become athletes for life.